Hey guys, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin'. Today I have got a fun one for you. We are taking a look at some of the most overlooked topwater baits that actually catch fish. From big baits to tiny baits. Let's go. We all love throwing topwater, and this is a fantastic time of year to throw topwater. So today what we're doing is we're looking at some overlooked baits. Because if one thing has rung true in recent years, it's that bass are getting conditioned. It's getting harder to catch them on traditional baits, the baits we've always caught them on. Some of that is because there's more angling pressure. Some of that is advancements in technology, but bass are definitely adapting and we need to adapt with them. So today I've got a bunch of baits for you. Some of them are crazy looking, some of them are obscure, some of them are tiny, but all of these catch fish. They're in absolutely no particular order today. I'm just gonna jump in here and start talking about these baits. This one right here. This is the Teckle Blade Waker. Kind of looks like a chatterbait, if you will, a chatterbait with a funny blade on it. That is no chatterbait. That is a true topwater. However, it runs much like a chatterbait with that blade up there on the surface, kicking and just slinging water. Think of this thing as a cross between a chatterbait and a buzzbait. This thing catches fish. Now I do pair it up to a swim bait, and in all my experimenting, I've found that a basic swim bait that doesn't have tons and tons of kick, it's just a good solid profile and a simple color, that has been my most successful pairing. Now as I'm rigging this, all of these baits, all this stuff, I'm gonna link them all down in the video description, just like we do in every video. So don't try and memorize the names of everything. All you have to do is open that description. Depending on your device, that might be clicking the 3 little dots down below the video. You might have to hit more to open the description, and then hit more again to open the entire description. But down below the video, no matter what platform you're watching this on, there is a description with all of these baits linked directly to Tackle Warehouse for you. So that right there is the Blade Waker. Kind of crazy looking, but let me tell you, when we first moved to Chickamauga, when we got here, I picked this exact bait up, that exact combo, and it became my confidence bait for almost 3 months. Every single day we were on the water, that's how I caught the majority of my fish. That's how effective that bait is. That blade is up there slinging water, that swim bait's running back there behind it, and those fish just smash it. I mean, I've had fish eat it right at the boat because it's different. These are pressured fish. Chickamauga takes a beating. They are pressured. So when you've got something that they're willing to chase all the way to the boat and still eat, that says a lot. That guy right there is a really cool profile, and it gets them. Next up, let's talk about this one. The Z-Man Hellraiser. What sort of a contraption is that, right? We did a review of this last year when it first came out. This bait looks crazy. So it's got this flat head, the line ties way down here. And then on the back end, it's got this crazy weighted blade on it. Well, it may look crazy in your hand. It actually looks crazy in the water too, but the fish climb all over it. When you throw this thing in the water, it runs with the nose up. And that nose, much like that Blade Waker, that nose is up there kicking, and that blade is in the back causing the commotion. So you end up with a bait that's coming through the water like this, and it's got a bunch of flash and vibration back there behind it. It's almost like a little chatterbait on the back, and the chatterbait body is a treble hook. And then the rest of this is just throwing water. Crazy looking contraption, but it catches them. And that's the deal here. We're looking for baits that are different, that other people aren't throwing, that will catch fish. And that one is proven. It will catch fish. Now this is a crazy color, and I have caught them on it. But it comes in a bunch of what I would call normal colors too. Everything from black to shad profiles to bluegill. But sometimes that bright, bold, obnoxious just gets them. Which one should we do next? Let's do this one. From Cast. This is the OG. Now this is the 30 gram OG. Simple enough. Looks like a walking bait. And quite frankly, you can throw this out there and walk the dog with it. It will walk the dog. But that is not what this bait is for. This is a crossover from saltwater. So this is a balsa bait line through construction. Now this is not an inexpensive bait. These are bomb proof. I mean, you can catch giant stripers on them. They'll take the beating. Swiveling hook hanger on the front, wire through construction. Did I say line through before? Wire through construction on the body. So you could literally blow the bait apart. You're still gonna catch your fish. This bait crosses over from saltwater. This is designed to be burned. Most of our topwaters run in a straight line, right? Walk the dog baits. Mechanical action coming to the boat, but it works. Buzz bait, straight line to the boat. Whopper Plopper, straight line to the boat. This is a different animal. You throw this on a very high speed reel, 7-to-1 or 8-to-1. And the way you work it, you throw it out, let it hit, and as soon as it hits, you go burn, 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 stop. Just as fast as you can crank that handle, half a dozen times. That bait will take off, and it'll actually go subsurface a lot of the time. But it will do these crazy movements. Sometimes it'll cut left, right, left, right. Sometimes it'll jump out of the water, go back under. Sometimes it'll dig down and then shoot back up. It's different every time. But on fisheries where fish are seeing a ton of topwater, this is crushing. This thing first caught on a lot of the herring fisheries of the Southeast, right? Lanier, as an example, is a place where you see tons of guys crushing with this bait. They're crushing on those blueback fisheries, and blueback fisheries are very, very difficult to get fish to commit to a topwater. But this bait casts like a bomb, so it can actually reach those fish, and that unique action where it's doing different things all the time is catching those giant fish. Well, fast forward a little bit. This isn't just for clear water spotted bass. This works everywhere. You want to get fish that are running bait in open water to commit. I don't care if they're running gizzard shad on the Tennessee River. I don't care if they're chasing kokanee on western impoundments. If fish are running hard in open water, this is a bait that will run hard with them, and those fish will run it down. There is a time and a place for a bait going full speed, just hauling, and then you pause, it pops up, and then you haul again, pause, pops up. When those fish are really on the hunt, they will just keep coming and coming and coming and coming until they get to that bait. It's amazing, and it is a very, very fun way to fish. This is not the bait for a guy on a pond with 4 spots. It's not the bait for a guy fishing backwater pockets. This is an open water, offshore, busting fish in open water, schooling bass, running bait, big water where you can run and gun outside points, outside structure, humps. That's what this is for. But a lot of guys fish those conditions, and that is a very, very special bait, and odds are no one on your lake is throwing it. All right, next one. Here we go. From Megabass, the iLoud. This is a cool bait. This is one of those baits that's just completely different than everything else. Think of it as a wake bait, okay? So it's a floating bait It's got a lip on it. You start swimming that thing and it just starts pushing water, just plowing a V-wake. It's hinged, so you get that kick, and it's got this knock in it. So it's loud, right? So it's V-waking, it's kicking, clunk, 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 clunk. But then it's got this prop. Let me see if I can get the sound out of it. It has a whirring sound. So buzz baits, they've got their own sound. Say a Whopper Plopper, it's got that whop, 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 whop. This is like bzzz. It's a whirring sound. It's completely different. And that sound from that blade is so loud that it overwhelms that sound. When you're throwing this thing, you're hearing the whirring louder than you're hearing that. It is a very, very unique bait. You want a bait that you can throw low light up on shallow fish? It's a great bait for that. You want a bait that you can throw out off the ends of long tapering points for suspended fish? It's a great bait for that too. And the eye loud is a bait that I just don't see a lot of people throw. Comes with size 2 hooks on it, great hooks, right out of the pack. You don't have to do anything. Throw it on a medium heavy rod and just send that thing. Steady retrieve back to the boat. It'll do everything for you. It's not complicated. It's simple. Anybody can fish it. If you want to break cadence once in a while, just give it a little pause and then carry on that quick. I don't mean stop and let it sit there. I mean, I'm cranking, it's V-waking, pause. That's all it is. So it's doing its thing, and you just give it a little kick to the side. That's it. That's that moment where those fish will blast that thing. Man, we've got some fun baits going on here, right? We've got 4 down, 4 to go. Next one. Let's do a couple of these little ones. Let's do the little ones. All right, you guys have seen us catch fish on this bait before, but this bait is so overlooked, it's not even funny. This is the Jackal Piku Piku. What is it? It is a wacky rig topwater. Kid you not, that's what it is. You tie her right there. You throw this thing out, it hits the surface. Now what's it for? Think the same places you would throw a popper. This is not a popper whatsoever, but you throw it in those same situations. So if you like throwing a popper, but other people, oh, they're chasing bait right here. But other people are throwing poppers around you, try a Piku Piku. So you throw this out there, it hits the water. I like to fish it with my rod tip high. I throw it on spinning gear or I throw it on bait finesse. I throw it on bait finesse a lot. It's really fun. Throw it out there, and then instead of, a popper, bloop, bloop, you pop that popper. This is different. I keep that rod tip high and I shake it. And then I let it sit. Then I shake it, let it sit, pull it, shake it. When you shake it on the surface of the water, it quivers and it looks exactly, I mean exactly like a struggling minnow. It's amazing how good it looks. You look at this thing in your hand, you're like a wacky rig topwater. What are you gonna sell me next, right? Like that's how I felt when I saw this on the shelf. I'm like, I don't think so. But Tim is actually the one who threw it first, and he was like, hey, there's something to this. Like, all right, I'll give it a try. Second you put that thing in the water and you give it the shake and you watch what it does there on the surface of the water, you're like, I've seen that 1,000 times. That's what a shad looks like when it's struggling to stay alive about half a second before a bass destroys it. That bait is legit. If you want to throw something in the same places as a popper, but not be the 14th guy throwing a popper, try a Piku Piku. It will get them. Next one. Speaking of poppers, it's a popper. But this is a whole different ball game. From Damiki. Damiki just came out with a BFS line of baits, or a bait finesse line of baits. This is the Oompa. The little Oompa popper. And I do mean little. I mean, I wish I had a traditional, a normal bait that I could put this up against. And then this doesn't really help. There's a 6-inch burrito. That's the only thing I have that some of you might recognize. That Oompa is so stinking tiny. It's like a fifth the size of a normal popper. Tiny. It catches them. I throw this on Bait Finesse and I catch a lot of fish on it. The hooks are, I don't know what size hooks these are. 12s, 14s, I have no idea. They're so micro, it's not even funny. But here's the deal with this bait, because you see stuff like this. You see it on a store shelf and you're like, cute, but no, right? Sometimes things are too nichey. They don't actually work. This is not that. I don't know if you guys can see how deep the cup in the face is. Here's the cool thing. I throw this on Bait Finesse, so I'm actually able to send it. It'll be out there 40, 50, 60 feet. The bait is so small, I can't even see it out there with my eye. It's on the surface, but I can't see it. But when I give it that little pop, it sprays water. Its presence in the water is huge. So its ability to draw fish is the same as a normal popper. I mean, it's a ton of commotion. Bloop, bloop, bloop. I mean, you can work it hard if you want. And it's got a little rattle in there. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. Its presence is enormous, even though the bait is micro. So the fish hear the sound, there's all this commotion, but when they come to it, it's a tiny, little, unassuming bait. And they just vacuum it up, because that's not a lure. Nothing that size has ever been anything but real, right? Bass get used to sizes of baits. They get used to a popper this size, something on the surface this size that's splashing might be real, might be a great meal, might be fake. Anything this size that they've ever eaten was real. It works. Don't overlook the micro stuff. Don't overlook it. All right, I got 2 more for you. This next one from G-Rat. This crazy contraption is the Proper Buzz. It's a combination, right? We've got a Whopper Plopper style bait mixed with a traditional buzz bait. Crazy looking. The end result in the water? Well, it's exactly what you might think. It's a Whopper Plopper type sound mixed with a buzzbait type sound. Tell me 2 baits big fish crush. There you go. It's got a big blade on it. This blade pulls hard. So it actually rolls this body over. The blade pulls so hard it rolls the body. That's irrelevant because that prop is still back there doing its thing regardless. But one thing I do is I will take this, it's on heavy wire too, so you can bend it and move it, it doesn't matter. And I'll give it a little twist and actually move that blade part way to the side. Oop, let me get it out of my arm and I'll show you. See what I just did there? So there's the bait straight, blades off to the side, because the blade's gonna wanna run to the side anyway, because it's pulling so hard. It runs in a straight line, but it wants to lay over. By bending it like that, the prop is now running to the side, but my bait is perfectly upright. So my hooks are perfectly upright and my hookup ratio is excellent. But this literally is a cross between a buzzbait and a Whopper Plopper type sound, and the fish slam it. If you go slow to medium, all you hear is the buzzbait. The rest is subsurface, and it's just a great profile, right? This is back there spinning. The rest is a great profile. They'll eat it like that, but you speed that thing up, you raise that rod tip up, and you get both going. And you can distinctly hear the buzzbait squeak mixed in with that whop, 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 whop. Very, very unique. I love when a company takes a gamble. They do something completely different, right? 2 things that are proven, but have never been blended. Very interesting. Last, but certainly not least, is this guy. Now, we talked micro poppers. Some people think that's crazy. Too small, can't catch a big bass. They are mistaken. But at the other end of the spectrum, they see this popper and they think, way too big, can't catch bass. Also, highly mistaken. This popper crushes. This is River to Sea's Bubble Walker, but this is the big one. It's huge. It's huge. I mean, look at it next to the iLoud, which is a big bait in its own right. Significantly larger. Huge popper. Comes with 3 size 2 trebles, and they're heavy wire. They're 3X trebles. This thing is so cool. So I actually don't use it as a popper, and that's important to note, because as a popper, it's huge. What I do with this thing is I walk the dog. I like to walk the dog with this bait. The difference is that a traditional walk the dog bait does this, right? When you walk this big popper with the cupped face, number one, super easy to walk. Anyone can walk it because the cupped face is catching water, so it wants to turn. Every time you pull, it wants to turn. The easiest bait you're ever gonna walk. But the difference is a traditional walking bait walks like this. The big popper walks like this. The bait turns, but it goes almost nowhere. Covers very little water. The result is that you can catch fish on it that don't want to chase. So these two baits could not be more opposite. This is a bait for covering an incredible amount of open water. This is a bait for picking apart cover, specifically pulling giants from cover that don't want to chase. I have done so well with this on the California Delta. That's the first place where we just crushed with it. You'd get a low tide, those fish would be out on that outside grass, or they pull up and they get up on that shallow cover on a high, but they're like glued to that piece of cover. Throw that up there, walk it almost in place, and it's got a bunch of rattles in it. It's got a good sound to it, huge profile, very slow moving, right over the top of their head. They can't handle it. I have caught a lot, I mean a lot, of 5 to 7 pound fish that just come unglued on that thing sitting over the top of them. And with that, we have arrived at the end. 8 highly unique, from giant to micro, completely overlooked topwaters. You want to do something different this summer? That's why I did this video. People are trying to be different. They're trying to throw something that other people aren't throwing. These are baits other people aren't throwing. I don't suggest you buy all 8. If this speaks to you because you're going slow in the backs of pockets, then this definitely doesn't speak to you, unless you have 2 home fisheries that are night and day different, right? You don't need all of these baits, but I am certain that one of these will throw an interesting twist into the topwater on any lake in the entire country. That's how I assembled this little list of baits right here. So we're keeping this video simple. In the video description, I'll link you a couple of great universal topwater rods, like probably my favorite topwater rod of all time, and then maybe a good budget option as well. But again, that'll just be in the video description. I won't even talk it through in the video. Just 8 highly unique baits, all of which are proven fish catchers, all of which are being underutilized by anglers. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.